The morning sun rose over Kepler 442c like any other day. Commander Jake Sullivan stood at the observation deck of the research station, watching the alien ruins stretch across the horizon. The ancient structures had puzzled scientists for months. Dr. Lisa Martinez and her team worked day and night to unlock their secrets. Jake checked his watch. Another routine day on this remote outpost. 200 people called this place home now. Scientists, engineers, and Marines all working together at the edge of known space. The planet was quiet and peaceful. Too peaceful, Jake sometimes thought. Dr. Lisa Martinez wiped sweat from her forehead as she studied the strange symbols on the wall. Her team had been digging through these ruins for 6 months. Something important was hidden here. She could feel it. The alien writing was starting to make sense. These weren't just old buildings. They were weapons factories. Commander Sullivan to the communications room, came Amy Foster's voice over the radio. Jake hurried down the metal corridors of the base. Lieutenant Amy Foster looked worried when he arrived. "Sir, we're picking up strange readings on long-range sensors," Amy said. "Something big is coming out of hyperspace." Jake leaned over her shoulder to look at the screen. 50 red dots appeared at the edge of the system. His blood ran cold. That was a full battle fleet. "Sound general alarm," Jake ordered. "Get everyone to battle stations. Send a distress signal to Earth immediately." The alarms rang through the base. People ran in every direction. Sergeant Mike Thompson gathered his Marines in the armory. Dr. Kevin Carter shut down his experiments and grabbed important data files. Everyone knew what those red dots meant. War had found them. The Zephyrian ships were sleek and deadly. They moved through space like hunting sharks. War Prime Zethkar stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the small human outpost on his screen and smiled. This would be easy. Destroy their orbital platforms first, he commanded. Then land troops. Take the research data and kill everyone else. The Zephyrian weapons lit up space. The human orbital defense platforms exploded one by one. They were old and weak compared to the alien warships. Jake watched from the command center as his defenses died. "Amy, get that distress signal out now," he shouted over the noise of explosions. "I'm trying, sir. They hit our main communications array. I'm switching to backup systems." Dr. Martinez ran into the command center with a data pad in her hands. Her face was pale but excited. "Jake, I found something. These ruins contain weapon blueprints, technology beyond anything we've ever seen." "Can it help us now?" Jake asked as another explosion shook the base. "No, but Earth needs to know about this. If I can get this data to them, they could build weapons that would change everything." Jake looked at Amy. "How long to get a message to Earth?" "If I can boost the signal through the ruins' power system, maybe 10 minutes. "Do it," Jake ordered. "Lisa, get your data ready." "Mike, how long can we hold them off?" Sergeant Thompson checked his rifle. "Ground troops are landing now. Maybe an hour if we're lucky." The Zephyrian soldiers moved fast. They wore dark armor and carried energy weapons. Their orders were simple: take the base and kill all humans. They thought it would be easy. Humans were weak and emotional. Everyone in the galaxy knew that. Mike Thompson and his Marines took positions around the main research building. They had good cover and knew the ground. The first wave of Zephyrian troops charged across the open area. Human rifles cracked. Several aliens fell, but more kept coming. "They're tough," Mike shouted to his men. "Aim for the joints in their armor." In the communications room, Amy worked frantically. Her fingers flew over the controls as enemy fire hit the building around her. She connected the transmitter to the alien power grid. The readings spiked. It was working. Dr. Martinez finished preparing her data package. Everything they had learned about the alien weapons was compressed into one file. If this got to Earth, humanity would have a chance. If not, they would all die for nothing. "Ready to transmit," Amy called out. "Send it," Jake ordered. The signal burst into space faster than light. It would take weeks to reach Earth, but it was their only hope. Amy smiled as the transmission completed. Then an energy blast hit the communications room. The explosion threw her across the room. She never got back up. Jake pulled Amy's body away from the burning equipment. She had done her job. The message was sent. Now they had to buy time to make sure it got through. The aliens broke through the outer defenses. Mike and his Marines fell back to the research building. They set up barriers in the hallways and kept fighting. Every minute mattered now. Dr. Carter worked in his lab, destroying sensitive equipment. The aliens couldn't have their research. He smashed computers and burned papers. When the Zephyrian soldiers found him, he was setting fire to the last of his work. Jake coordinated the defense from the main lab. His Marines fought like lions, but there were too many enemies. The aliens pushed deeper into the building. Room by room, floor by floor, they took control. "Mike, how much longer?" Jake asked over the radio. "Not long, sir. We're down to 12 men. They're at the elevator shaft." Jake looked at Lisa. She was still working on something at her computer. "What are you doing?" "Setting up a surprise," she said. "Mike rigged this whole place with explosives, right? I'm connecting them to the alien power grid. When it goes, it'll take half the planet with it. Will that stop them from following our signal? It'll make them think twice about attacking other human settlements." The sound of gunfire was getting closer. Jake could hear alien voices in the corridors. Mike's Marines were making their last stand at the laboratory doors. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Jake said into his radio. The laboratory doors exploded inward. Zephyrian soldiers poured through the smoke. Their energy weapons cut down the last defenders. Jake drew his pistol and stood in front of Lisa as she finished her work. "Got it," she whispered. "The whole grid is connected. When this building goes, it'll chain react through the ruins." The alien commander walked into the laboratory. He looked at the two humans and laughed. "Your species is even weaker than we thought." This was barely a warm-up. "You have no idea what you've started," Jake said. The alien shot him. Jake fell to the floor but kept his finger on the detonator. Lisa reached over and helped him press it. The explosion started small. Then it spread through the power grid under the ruins. Ancient alien technology that had slept for thousands of years suddenly woke up. Energy cascaded through crystalline networks buried deep in the planet's crust. The research station vanished in white light. The Zephyrian ships in orbit detected massive energy readings across the planet's surface. Secondary explosions rippled outward from the ruins. The aliens had awakened something they didn't understand. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the human outpost. But high above, moving faster than light, a small data packet raced toward Earth. It carried the knowledge that would change everything. Admiral Frank Harrison was drinking his morning coffee when the alert came in. He was sitting in his office at Terra Defense Command, looking through routine reports. The priority signal made him spill coffee on his desk. "Sir, emergency transmission from the outer colonies," his aide called out. "It's from Kepler 442c. Frank's face went pale. His daughter served on a ship near that system. He ran to the communications center. The technicians were working frantically to clean up the signal. It was weak and broken, but they could make out words. "This is Lieutenant Amy Foster at Kepler Research Station. We are under attack by Zephyrian forces. 50 warships. Defenses down. Dr. Martinez has critical data about alien weapons technology. Must reach Earth, we cannot hold. Tell my family I—" The signal cut off. Static filled the room. Frank stared at the speakers for a long moment. Then his expression hardened. "Get me President Wright on secure line. Now." President Helen Wright was in a cabinet meeting when the call came. She stepped out to take it privately. Frank's voice was tight with controlled anger. "Madam President, we have a situation. The Kepler Research Station has been attacked and destroyed. All hands lost. 200 people." Helen felt sick. "Who did this?" "The Zephyrian Empire. They hit without warning. No declaration of war. No demands. Just murder. What about survivors? None. But they managed to transmit research data before the end. Something about alien weapons technology." Helen was quiet for a moment. Then her voice turned hard. "Convene the War Council. Full mobilization. We're going to make them pay for this." 2 hours later, the top military leaders gathered in the Situation Room. Admiral Harrison spread star charts across the table. General Paul Davis studied troop deployment reports. Dr. Susan Blake looked at the data packet from Kepler 442c. "The research station found something incredible," Dr. Blake said. She had been Lisa Martinez's teacher years ago. Her voice shook with grief and excitement. "Alien weapons technology from a dead civilization. Quantum-based energy weapons that can destroy matter at the molecular level." "Can we build them?" General Davis asked. Lisa's team did most of the work. "The blueprints are all here. We can have prototypes in 2 weeks." Admiral Harrison pointed at the star charts. "The Zephyrian home system is here. 3 planets, major shipyards, their main fleet. They think they're safe behind their defenses." Captain Roy Mitchell had been studying enemy communications. "Sir, I've been monitoring Zephyrian signals. They're celebrating. They think this was easy. They're calling humans weak emotional creatures. Are they planning more attacks? President Wright asked. Not immediately. They seem to think one attack was enough to scare us. They're wrong. Frank stood up and looked around the room. Gentlemen, lady, we're going to hit them with everything we have. Full fleet mobilization. Every ship, every marine, every weapon we can build. Dr. Blake worked through the night in her laboratory. The alien technology was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It used quantum fields to break the bonds between atoms. A ship hit by these weapons wouldn't just explode. It would simply stop existing. Her team of scientists and engineers worked frantically. They had to retrofit human ships with completely new weapon systems. The power requirements were enormous. They needed new reactors, new targeting systems, new everything. How many ships can we equip? Admiral Harrison asked during his daily briefing. 50 ships with full quantum weapons. Another 100 with partial systems. It's the best we can do in 2 weeks. Make it happen. Across Earth's shipyards, workers labored around the clock. The entire industrial capacity of humanity focused on one goal: revenge. Ships that had been in maintenance were rushed back to service. New vessels rolled off production lines daily. General Davis prepared his Marines for the largest assault in human history. 50,000 soldiers training for orbital drops and ground combat. They practiced with new weapons based on the alien technology, portable quantum disruptors that could melt through any armor. The Zephyrian Empire had no idea what was coming. War Prime Zethkar filed his report about the easy victory over the human outpost. He recommended attacking more human colonies to keep them afraid. The Empire's leaders agreed. Humans are emotional and weak, Zethkar told his officers. One demonstration of our power will keep them quiet for decades. They lack the will to fight a real war. Captain Mitchell intercepted these communications and shared them with the War Council. The alien arrogance made everyone angrier. They thought humans were cowards. They were about to learn otherwise. President Wright addressed the nation 3 days after the attack. Her speech was broadcast across all human colonies. Citizens of Earth and beyond, she began. 3 days ago, the Zephyrian Empire murdered 200 of our people. Scientists, engineers, and Marines who were working peacefully at the edge of space. They died protecting research that will now become our sword of justice. Her voice grew harder. The aliens think we are weak. They think one attack will frighten us into submission. They have made a fatal mistake. We will show them what happens when you attack humanity's children. The speech ended with a simple promise. We are coming. Admiral Harrison's fleet began assembling at Luna Base. 300 ships of every class. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and carriers. The largest military force in human history. Crews trained constantly with the new quantum weapons. Dr. Blake personally oversaw the installation of quantum destabilizers on the flagship UHS Retribution. The weapon was beautiful and terrible. It looked like a crystal sculpture, but it could erase entire ships from existence. How accurate are these weapons? Admiral Harrison asked. Perfect accuracy within 50,000 kilometers. The quantum field locks onto the target's molecular structure. Nothing can defend against it. What about their shields? Shields work by deflecting energy. These weapons attack matter itself. Shields won't even slow them down. Captain Ben Parker commanded the Retribution. He had lost friends on the Kepler station. Like everyone in the fleet, he wanted revenge. His crew practiced firing solutions until they could target enemy ships in their sleep. Major Alex Turner led the Marine Assault Forces. His troops were loaded into special dropships equipped with quantum-enhanced armor. They would hit the Zephyrian homeworld hard and fast. The fleet departed Earth on a cold morning 2 weeks after the massacre. Hundreds of ships moving in perfect formation toward the outer system jump point. Families gathered at observation decks to watch them go. Many people cried. Not from sadness, but from pride. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the Retribution as they entered hyperspace. The journey to the Zephyrian home system would take 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prepare for the largest battle in human history. Dr. Blake sent one final message to her old student Lisa Martinez. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. Your discovery will light the fires of justice across the galaxy. In hyperspace, the human fleet raced toward its destiny. Behind them, Earth continued building more ships and weapons. If this war escalated, humanity would be ready. War Prime Zethkar received intelligence reports about human fleet movements. His advisors seemed concerned, but he dismissed their worries. Let them come, he said. Our home defenses will crush whatever pathetic force they send. After we destroy their fleet, we'll attack Earth itself. The humans need to learn their place in this galaxy. He had no idea that humanity had just learned to harness the power of dead gods. The quantum weapons were beyond anything the Zephyrian Empire had ever faced. Soon, their arrogance would turn to terror. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian home system exactly 3 weeks later. Admiral Harrison looked at the enemy positions on his tactical display. 3 planets, 200 ships, orbital defense platforms. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Today we avenge our fallen. Today we show the galaxy what happens when you murder our people. All ships prepare for battle. The human fleet stretched across space like a metal constellation. 300 ships of every size and type moved in perfect formation toward the Zephyrian home system. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, watching his armada through the viewport. Fleet status report, he ordered. Captain Ben Parker consulted his displays. All ships reporting ready, sir. Quantum weapons charged and calibrated. Marine assault group standing by. We'll reach the target system in 6 hours. Frank nodded. 3 weeks of travel had given them time to prepare. Every crew member knew their job. Every weapon system had been tested dozens of times. They were as ready as they could be. Dr. Susan Blake worked in the Retribution's weapons laboratory. The quantum destabilizer hummed with contained energy. The alien technology still amazed her. Lisa Martinez and her team had decoded something that could change the course of galactic history. Final weapon check complete, she reported. All quantum systems operating at full efficiency. Target lock capabilities confirmed. Admiral, these weapons will work exactly as designed. Lieutenant Commander Nina Ross ran tactical simulations on her computer. She had studied every piece of intelligence about Zephyrian ships and defenses. Their shields were strong. Their armor was thick, but none of it would matter against quantum weapons. Sir, enemy fleet disposition confirmed, Nina reported. 150 ships defending the home system. They're arranged in a standard defensive formation around their 3 planets. Chief Engineer Sam Johnson monitored the experimental power systems throughout the fleet. The quantum weapons required enormous amounts of energy. Human ships had been retrofitted with new reactors just to power them. All ships report green on power systems, Sam announced. The new reactors are handling the load perfectly. We can maintain full weapon charge for extended combat. Major Alex Turner checked his Marine assault forces for the 100th time. 50,000 soldiers were loaded into dropships throughout the fleet. They wore new armor enhanced with quantum field generators. Their weapons could punch through any alien defense. Marines ready for planetary assault, Alex reported. First wave will hit their command centers. Second wave takes the shipyards. Third wave secures the civilian areas. We'll own those planets in 12 hours. Admiral Harrison studied the tactical displays. The Zephyrians had positioned their fleet well. Under normal circumstances, it would be a tough fight. But these weren't normal circumstances. The enemy had no idea what was coming. Captain Roy Mitchell continued monitoring Zephyrian communications. The enemy was confident and relaxed. They thought their home system was perfectly safe. Their arrogance would be their downfall. Latest intercepts, sir, Roy reported. War Prime Zethkar is telling his fleet that humans are cowards. He says we'll run when we see their defenses. They're not even at full alert status. Frank smiled grimly. Good. Let them stay relaxed until the last possible moment. Meanwhile, in the Zephyrian home system, War Prime Zethkar reviewed defensive preparations. His ships floated in lazy formations around the 3 planets. The crews were confident and casual. Some were even on shore leave. Any sign of the human fleet? Zethkar asked his intelligence officer. Long-range sensors show nothing, War Prime. Our spies report they left Earth 3 weeks ago, but they haven't been detected since. Probably turned back when they realized the size of our defenses, Zethkar laughed. Humans have no stomach for real warfare. The destruction of their little outpost taught them their place. His staff officers agreed. The human fleet was probably hiding somewhere in deep space, too afraid to attack. The Zephyrian Empire was too strong for such a primitive species. On the planet below, Zephyrian citizens went about their daily lives. The thought of war never crossed their minds. Their military was the strongest in this part of the galaxy. No one would dare attack their home system. Back in the human fleet, Admiral Harrison called a final briefing with his senior officers. The holographic display showed the Zephyrian system in perfect detail. Every ship, every platform, every defense was marked. Ladies and gentlemen, this is it, Frank began. In 6 hours, We'll drop out of hyperspace and engage the enemy. This is the largest military operation in human history. We're not just fighting for revenge. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humanity will not be pushed around. Captain Parker asked. What about civilians on the planet, sir? Our target is their military. We'll avoid civilian casualties when possible. But make no mistake, we're here to break their ability to wage war. The Zephyrian Empire ends today, Dr. Blake spoke up. Admiral, the quantum weapons have never been used in actual combat. The theory is sound, but we should be prepared for unexpected effects. What kind of effects? The quantum fields might interact with their power systems in unusual ways. We could see chain reactions, feedback loops, things we haven't anticipated. Will it affect our ships? No, sir. The weapons are designed to only affect the targeted matter. Our ships will be safe. Major Turner stood at attention. Sir, my Marines are ready to take those planets. We'll hit them hard and fast. Their ground forces won't know what hit them. Frank looked around the room at his officers. They were the best humanity had to offer. Scientists, engineers, and warriors united by a common purpose. The Zephyrians had made a terrible mistake when they attacked Kepler 442c. One final point, Frank said. The enemy thinks we're weak and emotional. They're right about the emotional part. We're angry about what they did to our people, but they're wrong about weakness. Today we show them that human emotion is our strength, not our weakness. The briefing ended. Officers returned to their ships to make final preparations. Weapons were charged, Marines checked their equipment, and crews ran through battle procedures one last time. Lieutenant Commander Ross worked with the targeting computers. The quantum weapons had to be precisely aimed to be effective. She programmed firing solutions for every enemy ship in the system. Targeting data uploaded to all ships, she reported. Every gun in the fleet knows exactly where to shoot. Chief Johnson monitored power levels across the fleet. The new reactors were running hot but within safe parameters. The quantum weapons would have all the energy they needed. Power grid stable on all ships, he announced. We can sustain maximum fire rate for at least 4 hours of continuous combat. Captain Mitchell intercepted one final Zephyrian transmission. War Prime Zethkar was addressing his fleet about the human threat. My warriors, Zethkar said. The humans may actually be foolish enough to attack. If they come, we will crush them easily. Their ships are inferior. Their weapons are primitive and their crews lack discipline. This will be the shortest battle in Zephyrian history. The transmission ended with laughter from the enemy bridge crew. They found the idea of human resistance amusing. Sir, they're still not taking us seriously, Roy reported. Perfect, Frank replied. Overconfidence is the greatest enemy of any military force. They're about to learn that lesson the hard way. Dr. Blake ran final diagnostics on the quantum destabilizer. Every system showed green. The weapon that had been theoretical just 3 weeks ago was now ready to rewrite the rules of space combat. Quantum field generators stable, she reported. Targeting matrix aligned. Power coupling secure. Admiral, this weapon is ready to show the galaxy what human science can accomplish. The fleet began its final approach to the target system. Hyperspace distorted around them as they prepared to drop back into normal space. In a few minutes, the largest battle in human history would begin. Admiral Harrison took his position on the bridge. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. These men and women had trained their entire lives for moments like this. They would not fail. All ships report ready for combat. Captain Parker announced. Marine assault forces standing by. Major Turner added. Quantum weapons fully charged. Dr. Blake confirmed. Frank looked at the countdown timer. 3 minutes until they reached the Zephyrian system. 3 minutes until 200 people were avenged. 3 minutes until humanity announced its arrival as a major galactic power. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Remember Kepler 442c. Remember our fallen. Make them pay. Space exploded into light as 300 human ships dropped out of hyperspace. Admiral Harrison watched the tactical display as his fleet appeared at 3 different points around the Zephyrian home system. The enemy had no warning. No time to prepare. No chance to run. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison, Frank broadcast to the fleet. Remember our fallen. Fire at will. The UHS Retribution fired first. Dr. Blake's quantum destabilizer sent a beam of pure energy toward the Zephyrian flagship. The beam was invisible to the naked eye, but the result was not. The enemy ship simply vanished. No explosion, no debris. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. War Prime Zethkar stood on the bridge of his command ship, staring in shock at his tactical display. Where his flagship had been, there was now empty space. Not even atoms remained. What was that weapon? He screamed at his officers. How did they do that? His sensor officer's voice shook with fear. Unknown, War Prime. The energy readings don't match anything in our database. It's like the ship was erased from existence. Captain Ben Parker smiled grimly as he watched the enemy reaction on his screens. Target the next largest ship, he ordered. Let's see how they like losing their command structure. The second quantum beam lanced out. Another Zephyrian cruiser disappeared. Then another. The human fleet spread out and began systematically destroying the enemy formation. Each shot was perfect. Each hit was final. Lieutenant Commander Nina Ross coordinated the targeting data. Switching to the orbital defense platforms, she announced. Grid reference 7 Alpha through 12 Gamma. The orbital platforms around the 3 planets began vanishing one by one. The Zephyrians had built them over decades. It took the human fleet 15 minutes to erase them all. Major Alex Turner watched the space battle from his assault ship. Looks like we'll have clear skies for the ground assault, he told his Marines. Those platforms can't shoot down our dropships if they don't exist. The Zephyrian fleet tried to fight back. Their energy weapons blazed across space, hitting human ships with everything they had. But human shields held. The alien weapons were powerful, but they were still conventional energy beams. They could be blocked. Chief Engineer Sam Johnson monitored damage reports from across the fleet. Minor shield damage on 17 ships, he reported. Hull breach on the destroyer Vigilance. Nothing that will stop us from fighting. War Prime Zethkar ordered his ships to retreat. They couldn't fight weapons they didn't understand. His fleet began falling back toward the inner planets, hoping the orbital defenses would help. But the orbital defenses were already gone. War Prime, we've lost 60 ships, his tactical officer reported. The humans aren't even trying to board us or take prisoners. They're just erasing us from space. How many human ships have we destroyed? 3, sir. 3 out of 300. Zethkar stared at the battle display. His superior fleet was being slaughtered. These weren't the weak humans from his intelligence reports. These were something else entirely. Admiral Harrison watched the enemy retreat with satisfaction. Signal pursuit formation, he ordered. Don't let any of them escape. Captain Mitchell, start broadcasting our surrender demands. Captain Roy Mitchell opened communications to the Zephyrian fleet. This is Admiral Harrison of the Human Defense Force. You attacked our peaceful research station and murdered our people. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. War Prime Zethkar's response came back quickly. We demand to know what weapons you're using. They violate galactic warfare conventions. Frank's voice was ice cold when he replied. You lost the right to talk about conventions when you murdered scientists. Surrender now or join your flagship in oblivion. We will not surrender to inferior beings. Then you will die. The quantum weapons fired again. 5 more Zephyrian ships vanished in the space of 10 seconds. The enemy formation broke apart as captains began fleeing in panic. Dr. Blake monitored her weapon from the laboratory. Quantum field generators holding steady, she reported. We can keep this up for hours if necessary, but it wouldn't take hours. The Zephyrian fleet was collapsing. Ships fled in every direction, abandoning their defensive positions. Some tried to hide behind the planets. Others made desperate runs for the system edge. Lieutenant Commander Ross shifted targeting to the fleeing ships. Running won't help them, she said as she locked weapons on a group of enemy destroyers. Quantum beams don't care about distance. The destroyers disappeared one by one as they tried to escape. The human fleet spread out to cut off all escape routes. This would be a complete victory. No Zephyrian ship would leave this system. Major Turner's assault forces launched from their carriers. Thousands of dropships streaked toward the 3 planets below. The Zephyrian ground forces scrambled to defensive positions, but they had no idea what was coming. First wave touching down on the capital planet, Alex reported as his Marines hit the ground. Resistance is light. These troops have never fought humans before. The human Marines advanced through Zephyrian cities with quantum-enhanced weapons. Their portable disruptors melted through alien armor like it was paper. Enemy strongpoints fell in minutes. War Prime Zethkar tried to coordinate the ground defense from his command bunker. But his communications were jammed and his forces were scattered. The humans moved too fast and hit too hard. Sir, they've broken through our outer defenses, his ground commander reported. Our weapons can't penetrate their armor. Their weapons cut through everything we have. How is this possible? Human technology is supposed to be primitive. I don't know, sir, but we're losing badly. Request immediate evacuation. In space, the last Zephyrian ships were being hunted down. Captain Parker watched as quantum beams reached out across the system to destroy fleeing enemies. The battle had become a massacre. Enemy fleet strength down to 20 ships, Nina reported. All orbital defenses destroyed. Ground forces in full retreat. Admiral Harrison opened a channel to War Prime Zethkar's command bunker. This is your final warning. Surrender now or we'll quantum blast your bunker from orbit. Zethkar's voice was filled with rage and fear. What are you? Humans aren't supposed to be capable of this. We're what you made us, Frank replied. You wanted to see what happens when you murder our people. Congratulations, you're seeing it. Major Turner's Marines reached the command bunker 6 hours after landing. The quantum-enhanced breaching charges cut through blast doors like they were made of cardboard. Human soldiers poured into the bunker complex. War Prime Zethkar was captured in his command center, still trying to call for reinforcements that would never come. Alex Turner personally placed him in restraints. You're under arrest for war crimes, Alex told him. Specifically the murder of 200 human civilians at Kepler 442c. This is impossible, Zethkar protested. Humans are weak, emotional, inferior. You're right about the emotional part, Alex replied. We're very emotional about what you did to our people. You're about to learn what human emotions can accomplish. The space battle ended after 8 hours. Of the 150 Zephyrian ships, none survived. The human fleet had lost only 3 vessels with minor damage to 20 others. It was the most one-sided victory in galactic history. Dr. Blake shut down the quantum destabilizer and ran post-battle diagnostics. Weapon performance exceeded all expectations, she reported. We fired 67 shots and achieved 67 kills. Perfect accuracy, perfect effectiveness. Chief Johnson compiled damage reports from the fleet. Total human casualties, 43 dead, 112 wounded. Enemy casualties, and he paused. Complete annihilation of their military forces. Admiral Harrison surveyed the aftermath from his bridge. 3 Zephyrian planets were under human occupation. Their fleet was destroyed. Their military infrastructure was captured or demolished. The Zephyrian Empire had ceased to exist as a fighting force. Signal Earth, Frank ordered. Mission accomplished. Kepler 442c has been avenged. The Zephyrian threat is eliminated. Captain Mitchell monitored galactic communications as news of the battle spread. Other alien species were already reacting with shock and fear. The humans had gone from minor players to the dominant military power in this part of space. Sir, we're getting messages from a dozen different governments, Roy reported. They all want to know about our new weapons. Some are offering alliance. Others are pleading for peace. Frank nodded. The galaxy had received the message. Attack humanity at your own risk. Touch our people and your entire civilization burns. War Prime Zethkar was brought aboard the Retribution in chains. He looked around at the human crew with a mixture of hatred and fear. These weren't the weak creatures his intelligence had described. You'll pay for this, he snarled at Admiral Harrison. The galaxy will unite against you. Your people will be destroyed for what you've done here. Frank looked at him calmly. Let them try. We have quantum weapons and the will to use them. Anyone who wants to follow your example is welcome to try. They'll get the same result you did. The prisoner was taken to the brig. Tomorrow he would face trial for war crimes. But the trial was just a formality. His fate was already sealed. Dr. Blake began planning for mass production of quantum weapons. Earth would need hundreds of these systems to defend all human colonies. The trial of War Prime Zethkar took place on Earth, 6 months after the battle. The whole galaxy watched as the Zephyrian leader faced justice for his crimes. The courtroom was packed with families of the Kepler 442c victims. Admiral Frank Harrison testified about the attack on the research station. His voice was calm and factual as he described the murder of 200 innocent people. The evidence was overwhelming. Zethkar had ordered the attack without provocation. The defendant's own communications prove his intent, the prosecutor stated. He called humans weak emotional creatures and planned to attack more colonies after Kepler 442c. This was not a military action. It was genocide. Dr. Susan Blake testified about the quantum weapons. She explained how Lisa Martinez's final transmission had made human victory possible. The alien technology had been turned against its creator's followers. Dr. Martinez and her team died protecting knowledge that saved our species, Susan told the court. Their sacrifice gave us the power to defend ourselves against any aggressor. War Prime Zethkar's defense tried to claim the attack was justified military action. They argued that humans were expanding too fast and threatening Zephyrian territory. The judges were not impressed. Nothing justifies the murder of civilian scientists, the chief judge declared. The defendant will face execution for crimes against humanity. Zethkar showed no remorse even as the sentence was read. You think you've won, he snarled at the human observers. But you've only made enemies of every species in the galaxy. Your quantum weapons make you dangerous to everyone. President Helen Wright addressed his concerns during her statement to the galactic community. Humanity seeks peace with all species. Our quantum weapons are defensive tools. We will only use them against those who attack us first. But the galaxy remained nervous. Human ships now carried weapons that could erase entire fleets. Other species wondered if they would be next. Some alien governments sent diplomats to Earth seeking alliance. Others began building larger fleets. The Galactic Council called an emergency session to discuss the human situation. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to debate what to do about humanity's new power. The humans have upset the balance of power, declared Ambassador Vorth of the Centauri Federation. Their weapons are too dangerous to be allowed. Then perhaps you should not attack their colonies, replied Ambassador Chen of the Tau Ceti Alliance. The Zephyrians brought this on themselves. The debate raged for days. Some species wanted to band together against humanity. Others argued for peaceful coexistence. A few wise voices pointed out that humans had only used their weapons in retaliation. Captain Roy Mitchell monitored these discussions from Earth. The intelligence reports were mixed. Some species were definitely planning hostile action. Others seemed genuinely interested in friendship. Sir, we're detecting fleet movements in 6 different systems, Roy reported to Admiral Harrison. The Vegan Empire and Rigel Consortium are definitely preparing for something. Frank studied the star charts. How long before they could threaten human space? 6 months if they move together. But sir, our quantum weapons would stop any conventional fleet. I know, but we need to show the galaxy that we're reasonable. We can't just destroy everyone who looks at us wrong. President Wright agreed. She authorized a series of diplomatic missions to reassure nervous alien governments. Human ambassadors traveled throughout the galaxy carrying a simple message. We want peace, but we will defend ourselves. The message was backed up by action. Human fleets began patrolling the borders of former Zephyrian space. The occupied planets were turned into forward bases equipped with quantum defense platforms. Anyone who wanted to test human resolve would face the same weapons that destroyed the Zephyrian Empire. Dr. Blake's weapons program expanded rapidly. Factories on Earth and the colonies produced quantum destabilizers by the hundreds. Every human ship would soon carry these devastating weapons. How many quantum weapons do we have operational? President Wright asked during a security briefing. 400 ship-mounted systems, Susan reported. 50 planetary defense platforms. 200 portable units for the Marines. Production is increasing every month. What about the power requirements? We've solved that problem. The new fusion reactors can power quantum weapons indefinitely. Our ships are now the most powerful in the galaxy. Major Alex Turner used the portable quantum weapons to great effect during the occupation of former Zephyrian worlds. The local populations quickly learned that resistance was futile. Human weapons could level entire cities in minutes, but the humans were not cruel occupiers. They established fair governments and protected civilian populations. The former Zephyrian colonies actually prospered under human administration. The locals are starting to prefer us to their old government, Alex reported. Zephyrian rule was harsh and oppressive. We're giving them freedom and prosperity. This success worried other alien species even more. If humans could win hearts and minds as well as battles, they might become unstoppable. Some governments began seriously considering military action. The crisis came when the Vegan Empire demanded that humans surrender their quantum weapons. Ambassador Vorth delivered the ultimatum personally to President Wright. Your weapons threaten the peace of the galaxy, he declared. The Galactic Council demands their immediate destruction. Helen's response was swift and clear. The weapons stay. We will not disarm while other species maintain their military forces. If you want peace, don't attack us. And if we choose to enforce the Council's will, then you'll get the same treatment the Zephyrians received. We've demonstrated what happens to those who threaten human lives. Ambassador Vorth left Earth in anger. Within days, the Vegan Empire began mobilizing its battle fleets. The Rigel Consortium and 3 other species joined them. Over 1,000 ships began moving toward human space. Admiral Harrison prepared for the largest battle since the Zephyrian campaign. The human fleet now numbered 500 ships, all equipped with quantum weapons. It would be another test of alien resolve against human determination. "Do you think they'll actually attack?" Captain Ben Parker asked. "They might," Frank replied. "Fear makes people do stupid things. They're scared of our weapons, so they want to destroy us before we can use them. But we've only used them defensively. Logic doesn't always matter in war. Sometimes fear is stronger than reason." The alien fleet reached the edge of human space and stopped. For 3 days, the two forces faced each other across the void. Diplomatic channels buzzed with last-minute negotiations. Finally, Ambassador Vorth contacted Admiral Harrison directly. "We will not attack if you agree to limit quantum weapon production." "Counter-proposal," Frank replied. "We'll sign a non-aggression pact. We won't attack you if you don't attack us, but we keep our weapons. The Council will never accept that. Then you have a choice to make. Go home or test our quantum weapons yourself." The alien fleet withdrew after one more day of tense standoff. The species that had threatened war realized they were not ready to face the same fate as the Zephyrian Empire. 5 years later, human space had tripled in size. The former Zephyrian territory was fully integrated into human civilization. New colonies sprouted throughout the region. Trade and industry flourished under human protection. The Kepler 442c memorial was dedicated on the 5th anniversary of the attack. President Wright spoke at the ceremony, honoring the 200 people who had died to protect their discovery. Jake Sullivan, Lisa Martinez, Amy Foster, Mike Thompson, and all the others gave their lives for knowledge, Helen said. That knowledge became our shield and sword. Their sacrifice saved not just our species, but all the innocent people now living free in former Zephyrian space. Dr. Blake, now head of Human Defense Research, laid a wreath at the memorial. The alien technology that Lisa Martinez had died to preserve had changed everything. Humanity was now the dominant power in this part of the galaxy. She would be proud, Susan whispered to the memorial stone. We took her discovery and used it to protect everyone she loved. Admiral Harrison, now Supreme Fleet Commander, watched from the crowd. The quantum weapons had made humanity safe, but they had also made them responsible. With great power came the duty to protect those who could not protect themselves. War Prime Zethkar had been executed 3 years earlier. His final words were a warning that humanity would become tyrants. But the opposite had happened. Human rule brought peace and prosperity to dozens of worlds. The galaxy had learned to respect human power. More importantly, they had learned to trust human justice. When other species faced threats, they called for human help. The quantum weapons that had avenged Kepler 442c now protected millions of innocent beings. Captain Mitchell, now head of Galactic Intelligence, monitored communications across known space. The galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in centuries. Few species dared to start wars when human quantum weapons might intervene. Any new threats developing? Admiral Harrison asked during their weekly briefing. Nothing major, Roy replied. The Andromedan Syndicate is making noise about expansion, but they're not stupid enough to challenge us directly. Most species have learned the lesson. What lesson is that? Don't attack humans unless you want your entire civilization erased from existence.